Alright guys, so we are looking at the leaks from Chapter Approved 2021, and I've got all the point costs from the Space Marine Codex, and we've also got the points cost from the Blood Angels book. So obviously you can see the points here on screen, and if you want the actual sheets, just pop out message in Discord. We'll have the sheets there so you can see them, you can download them, you can check them out from yourself. And we are going to be playing using these new points costs tomorrow live on the channel. So if you want to see a battle using the new points costs, then join us tomorrow. And once we run over the changes in the point costs, I'm actually going to have to retweak/rebuild my list, because I had built what was hoping to be my tournament list, and now we're going to have to change it up. Okay, so on this first page, the thing that stands out most in terms of Blood Angels, I think, is down here, and it is the Chief Apothecary is now going to be plus 35 points, so that is a 20-point increase. And we do know that the Chief Apothecary was pretty great before. Is that right? Plus 35? Someone from chat tell me if that's right. The Codex says plus 25. I'm trying to think. The Sangria Priest was 90, his jump pack was 30, and then I'm sure he was coming in as 135 points. So the Chief Apothecary was originally 15 points. I remember in the Space Marine book it was actually wrong. It was in two different places, wasn't it? So basically a 20-point increase on the Chief Apothecary. So I guess that makes our Sangria Priest with a jump pack now 155 points, which is probably too high. It feels really high. It feels like, is there a way we can run him and not have the jump pack? I'm trying to think if that would work and you just have him advancing around the board. I guess, but yeah, so that's the first thing that's noticeable here. I don't think there's any other changes on this first page. I'm just having a quick scan of it now. I mean, I just got access to these leaks, but everything else looks pretty similar. So, yeah, I think that's the first page. Alright, so let's move on to the second page. And up here in this top left, this is Primaris Captain and Primaris Chaplain. Chaplain on the bike stayed the same. Tech Marine stayed the same. Assault Intercessors, Heavy Intercessors, these guys are all the same. Infiltrators, Incursors, Tactical Squads, everything looks pretty much as such. Aggressors, Apothecaries, the Blade Guards, the Blade Guard Ancient. So no changes here from what I can see. Okay, we'll move on next to Dreadnoughts and the Contemptors. The Contemptors still in at 150. Dreadnoughts look the same. Warsuits, Ironclads, Judicars, Primaris Apothecary, nothing changed here. Redemptors didn't change either, which is interesting because I've said for a while I think Redemptors are very good, very competitive. Relic Terminators still 34 points per model. Scouts, which no one plays anymore, I guess still 14 points per model. Servitors, Stern Guard Veterans still 20. Assault Terminators 34. Terminators with guns, 38, so that stays the same. Vanguard Veterans is where we've got another change. So Vanguard Veterans before, jump packs were 2 points per model. We're now 3 points per model in the jump pack, so that's a 1 point increase. Storm Shields were 4 points per model. They're now 5. So I guess your Vanguard Veterans, every model that has a jump pack and a Storm Shield is going to be up 2 points. Nothing else really changes down here from what I can see. Moving on then into like attack bikes, and that is one of the main things that we've got changed here. So attack bikes are moving up from 45 points to 50. So you're 5 points per model more on the attack bikes. I know a lot of people are running attack bikes, but I think they're pretty similar to, Eradicators. So if attack bikes are going up, I would have kind of expected to see Eradicators go up. The the next thing to note is that the storm speeders, so these have been reduced 15 points, so 10% decrease on the hail strike, 15 points on this one, so slightly less than 10%. So, and 15 points on the thunder strike, so again, slightly less than 10%. So, the storm speeders, I'm not sure I felt like they were super competitive before. Maybe they'll see a little bit of action now. Centurions in the Devastator armor are still crazy overcosted, in my opinion. If you have a Centurion with 2 las cannons on him, he's 110 points. Nothing changed there. Like, they've left that just as is. That's crazy. I mean, I don't see how a Centurion needs to be 111 points per model. Like, that makes them completely unfieldable. Even with the Grav cannons, which are the cheapest ones, they're 100 points per model. But I guess that's where the Centurions are sitting right now. Devastators doesn't look like there was much cost changes. Eliminators have had a change, so they are 5 points less per model, and the last Fusel is also 5 points less. A few people in chat have been talking about this, saying that they think Eliminators maybe will now do a job. This knocks them down, I guess. If you had 3 models with 1 las Fusel before, you'd have been 100 points. Now they're down to 80. So potentially that's like 20% points drop. That's one of the biggest drops we've seen, 20%. Most of the drops are pretty small. Eradicators haven't changed at all. They are still basically 45 points per model, plus 5 for the heavy meltas, plus 10 for the multi-melta, which is a strange change to be. So now you're telling me that attack bikes are 3 of them are 180 points, and basically 4 eradicators are the same 180 points. So if you have 3 attack bikes against 4 eradicators, who's going to win in a fight? I mean, it's going to be interesting, right? Because the eradicators actually have the same number of wounds. They have 2 extra meltagun shots. They can gain some cover. They have transhuman. I think this is going to push people that were running attack bikes to eradicators. I am going to make a list right after this, and we're going to look at that. So, that's interesting as well. The gladiators have come down significantly, and I think they needed to come down. Like, I've never seen a gladiator on the table. They came down the Lancer came down 20%, down to 180. The Reaper came down the same 20 points, down to 210, and the Valiant came down from 250 down to 230. Is it enough to see them on the table? I don't know, right? Because they don't have the core keyword, they don't have an invulnerable save, and I think spending 230 points on a model that has no invulnerable save, no duty eternal, and not a huge amount of wounds. I think the Gladiators have 12 wounds, right? To me, it seems very risky. Hellblasters are the unit that haven't changed, but we have talked a little bit about Hellblasters. Eradicators do have 1 less wound, but if you get to run 4 of them for the same price as 3 attack bikes, Ahsoka, then I think, then you're on the same 12 wounds, I guess. Hellblasters haven't changed, but we have talked a little bit about the Salt Hellblasters, or even the heavy Hellblasters being quite strong. So maybe we're going to see a little bit of Hellblaster play in the meta because Inceptors have changed. And sorry, have I skipped over Inceptors? Inceptors are actually one of the biggest changes. They are here, and they're going to be I thought that they were going up to 60 points per model. That was the rumour. It's got them at 50 here. Is that right? I thought they were already 55 points per model, and they were going up to 60 points per model, right? So unless this is a typo or something, then this seems wrong. The rumor has it that Inceptors are going to be 60 points per model. Because you have to pay for both guns, right? So 40 plus 10 plus 10, 60 points per model on the Inceptors. Which is nuts, right? Like, they were 55 points per model. Now they're 60. So 3 Inceptors are more expensive than 5 Hellblasters. I guess we're going to see. You know what, Rezio, you actually love the Inceptors with the Hurricane Bolters. Maybe there's a place for them now. 120 points? Yeah, maybe there's a place for those Inceptors with those Hurricane Bolters. I mean, they're good at clearing chaff units, and I mean, if that's what you want Inceptors to do, right? And you don't necessarily want to be having to fire them on high power. And the thing about the Inceptors Hurricane Bolters, right, is what are they actually called? They're not called Hurricane Bolters. They're called Assault Bolters. They're Assault 3, Strength 5, -1, 1 damage. So they're basically like a heavy bolter, but they're Assault 3 and 1 damage. So you get 6 shots per model. So is there a place now where Assault Bolter Inceptors are actually good? They're the one models that I actually don't have. They're actually a squad that I haven't got a stupid weapon option on, so I could run 3. So when we're building my list later today, let's think about it. Would there be a place for an Inceptor squad with bolters? Because I have the bolter guys. I'd spent way more time working and painting the plasma guys, but like maybe we need to come back to the vanilla bolter guys. Interesting. Okay, and then let me see, has anything else changed? Yeah, we knew Land Raiders were going down 20 points per model. Maybe there's a situation where a Land Raider could be viable now, but I guess we'll have to see what happens to the Forge World Land Raiders, right? Minus 20 points is something, but still no invulnerable save. And I think that's the reason Land Raiders don't get played, right? Like, there's so many Meltagons on the table now. Not being able to save is a big, big problem. And sometimes saving on 6s also feels like not being able to save. Like, you never reliably save on 6s, right? Magnetize your Inceptors. I already have made them. They're all glued. I usually make all my models and then come back to it. Alright, and then let's look at finally. No change on Predators, which I can't remember the last time I saw Predator on the table. So, no change on Predators is strange to me. Like, no one's running Predators. They needed a change. Repulsor dropped 20 points, and the Executioner looks like it's dropped 20 points. But again, I think these have the same problem in the Land Raiders, even more so, right? Because at least the Land Raiders are in a 2+ save, so against like Meltagons, they would actually get to save on 6s. The Repulsor's on a 3+ save, so it gets no save against Meltagons, and there's so many Meltagons around. 335 points on a model that only has, is it, Land Raiders are 16 wounds. Are Repulsors 16 as well? Let me just double check, sorry. Repulsors, yeah, same 16 wounds, but no save against Meltagons. I can't see it. I can't see it really. I can't see it being played. I don't think this fixes the problem with them. Vindicators and Whirlwinds, no change. And then the Storm Raven drops 20 points. So, but again, lack of wounds. I think it's 14 wounds on the Storm Raven. And again, no invulnerable save, won't be able to save against Meltas. I know it is -1 to hit, but there's so many ways to get rerolls or +1s to hit. The -1 to hit is easily countered. And that's one of my big problems with Commander Dante, right? Like, it's easy. If you compare it to Gift of Foresight, right? Like, it's Gift of Foresight gives some insane value, and like -1 to hit, there's too many ways to counter a -1 to hit. I feel like, like I'm always using Chapter Master rerolls. I'm always using Sangria Guard that get +1 to hit if they're near the Chapter Master. There's plenty of ways to counter -1 to hit. So I'm not convinced a Repulsor, a Land Raider, or a Storm Raven. I don't think these changes will make any of them appear on the battlefield. Maybe we'll see the odd player take them, but like I can't see them being that successful. I don't think it addresses the problem with them. And also, they got a double nerf in 9th edition, right? They got the core keyword removed from them, and then they got their points costs just ballooned up. And the Melta change, I get now that Games Workshop are trying to make Meltas more expensive, but like, So they've made the attack bikes more expensive, but they haven't changed eradicators. So we're still going to have the exact same problem where the meta is going to be dominated by multi-meltas. I'm going to fight Sisters of Battle tomorrow night, and I believe if you want to see a battle using the new points lists and the scores, that's going to be live tomorrow night, 7:30 UK time. And Andrew is trying to update. I think he's got all the Sisters of Battle leaks, and he's going to make his list using the new points cost for Sisters of Battle. But before the leaks came out, he was telling me for like 822 points, he can get 44 Meltagun shots. Or when I say Meltagun shots, I mean a 24-inch strength 8 -4 d6 damage shot, right? He can get 44 of them in his list for 800 points. And the Sisters' points costs have been reduced, so he can probably do that for under 800 points now. So if you can bring 44 Meltagun shots to the party, how on earth can you afford to spend 300 points on a tank that can just get instantly vaporized with no save? Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like, I often do maths on this channel, right? Like, let's just take those 44 Meltagun shots. Let's say that he hits on 3s, so we get 29 hits. Let's say we're shooting a Land Raider, so we wound on 4s. Let's say that we do actually get our save, so we can save on 6s, so we only take that much, and then it's 3.5 damage per shot average on a Melta, so we times that by 3.5. So basically, he has enough multi-Meltas to kill, what is it, 16 wounds on the Land Raider? He has enough multi-Melta shots in turn 1 to kill 2.67 Land Raiders. That's if you roll the average. So if you times that by the cost of the Land Raider, 265, he has enough multi-Meltas to kill 700 points of Land Raiders in a single turn. Like, I'm questioning some of these point changes pretty hard. So I guess if you're an Ultramarines player, maybe you can look down here. There are some Ultramarines bits and bobs. But now we're going to jump into the Blood Angels changes. And yeah, like, okay, so looking at the Blood Angels changes, we have no change to Astaroth. And bear in mind, I was saying this a little bit earlier, that I review army lists every week, 5 army lists every week, submitted by the community. You know, we have 5,000 plus subscribers now on this channel, so it's Blood Angels players that play in and out. I cannot remember the last list that we looked at that had Astaroth, Corbolo, Tycho, Lamartez. Sanguinor was in like one list a few weeks back, and Dante was in a list, let's say 3 weeks back. But 5 of our 7 named characters do not get included in any of the lists. And I guess the reason is that they're just not good enough, and or they cost too many points. So Astaroth, Corbolo, Tycho, Lamartez, these characters don't get included, and there's no change to any of them. Dante has dropped 10 points, and I welcome that. I feel like 10 points less on Dante is probably good, because in my opinion, he's not as good as the captain on a bike who is upgraded to Chapter Master with a Thunderhammer and Infernal Pistol that also comes in at 165 points. So for me, I'm still not going to feel Dante. Like, we've talked a lot about how we maybe want like a Primaris Dante, and maybe a Primaris Dante could go a long way to making Dante more viable. But like right now, where he is, the fact that he can be vaporized with a single Meltagun, and bear in mind, we talk about Sisters of Battle and Miracle Dice. He has the precise number of wounds that they need to use 1 Miracle Dice to kill him. I don't understand, like, Dante is the oldest living Space Marine. Why does he not have a 5++ feel no pain or something? Anyway, so Dante is maybe okay at 10 points less, but for me personally, I'm still not going to field him. I also have like a big question mark about Corbolo. Corbolo's so expensive at the moment, right? But Corbolo doesn't have a jump pack, so it's like you can't use, like, I think I've been doing the Army List show for like 40 episodes now, and I think we've seen Corbolo once, maybe twice. So out of like 200 Army Lists, 1 person's running Corbolo. So like, can Corbolo not maybe get an update where we get him a jump pack and actually as an option, right? Because right now his aura around him is amazing, but like there just isn't really an option to bring him into the battle. Other point cost changes here then. The big noticeable ones are the Sangria Ancient has gone down basically 15 points from 125. He used to be 85, and I felt like at 85 he was almost an auto-include. He went to 125, and like a lot of people dropped him. 110 feels like it was okay. I still think he's probably a little bit weak at 110. Like, I think if he had a 5 plus invulnerable save at 110, I'd be okay with that. But because he has no invulnerable save, there's still a very good chance that you can kill him, you know, in a single round of combat or a single multi-melta shot if you can get, you know, if they can make him the closest target or the squad he's around gets weakened. So based on that, I'd like to see that he was 100, but I suppose we can welcome 110. And then the Sangria Guard actually went up to 32 points per model, which I'm actually really unhappy with. Sangria Guard are not survivable at all. Again, it comes down to the fact that they have no invulnerable save. And if you compare this to Terminators, who are basically, you know, 1 point more in some cases, right? Regular Terminators, Assault Terminators are 1 point more. Relic Terminators are 2 points more per model. They have a whole additional wound and an invulnerable save. And yeah, I mean, like, I don't think... I thought Sangria Guard were pretty expensive at 30 points per model. 32 points per model. I mean, personally, I'll make it work. I only run 8 Sangria Guard typically. I don't run multiple squads of them. But, yeah, I mean, this change just doesn't... This, you know, it just feels like it's... You know, the change is off the pulse, right? Like, whoever made this change hasn't fought Sangria Guard enough and hasn't shot them enough to just realise like how quickly they actually do die. You know, 32 points per model. I guess this change is probably to try and prevent those army lists that run like 25 Sangria Guard, but we've talked about that a lot on this channel, and it isn't really a viable thing to do anymore. There's too many counters to it. Death Guard will totally counter it with the Revolting Stench Vats. You know, other units like the Sisters of Battle can totally counter it with like Repentia, Witches from Dark Eldar. There's too many anti-Sangria Guard models out there. 32 points per model. I'm not happy about that at all. But I'll make it work because I only run 8 of them. But some other players might have big problems with that. And then the last thing on this list are Ball Predator. You know, I'm sad about the Ball Predator. I own 2 Ball Predators, and I've owned them for a very long time, and like, no one runs Ball Predators. I think, again, in 40, 50 army lists that I've reviewed now, I can count the number of Ball Predators I've seen literally on one finger. Like, I think we've seen 1 or 2 new players run the Ball Predator because they run it because they're new, and they think, oh cool, a Blood Angel specific tank. I'll run that, you know, it must be good. And no, it's arguably the worst thing in this list. You know, like, I don't know what they need to do to the Ball Predator. We've talked about the Flamestorm cannon, and the flame version of the Ball Predator makes a lot of sense to me, right? Because it's like, it could be a fast-moving tank that could run in and like flame out some screens, and then the Blood Angels could come in after that. However, the guns would need to be assault, right? Like, they would need to make the tank an assault tank because its weapon range is so small, and also the weapons are so swingy, right? Like, you just can't field it in any sense of competitive because its main cannon is heavy D6, right? So when you roll a 1 and you get 1 shot, and it's also heavy, right? So you can't advance. So the tank should be able to advance. I guess like the flamers on the Ball Predator should probably just be changed to like an assault flamer, and the main cannon needs to become assault as well, and possibly just a set number of shots, right? Like, even, I don't know, even going like 3 or 4 shots, even like a low number of shots would actually be better than the swinginess that we have right now, because I think it's the swinginess that keeps it off the table, right? Like, anyone that's playing competitive, you try and, you know, there is dice in the game, but you try and build lists that don't require dice or that they have weight of dice or whatever. And yeah, I'm sad again that the Ball Predator, like, which edition will be able to run the Ball Predator again? Did we talk about the Death Company, Dread, and Talons going down? We did not. Thank you for pointing that out, Steel Rain. So the Death Company Dreadnought was 125 points, and each Blood Talon is now 5 points. I'm not seeing any change there. Am I being blind? Death Company Dreadnought 125. It still says +5. Mark says the Ball Predator instantly becomes playable if its guns become assault. We need D3 +3 shots for the Flamers, maybe. They haven't lowered Infernal Pistols as well. I don't know. Infernal Pistols on Sangria Guard are the same 5 that they were before. I'm not seeing any change to the Death Company Dreadnought. Yeah, okay, so that is pretty much most of the changes then, I think. You can flick through these slides. They'll be available in Discord. If you're not in the Discord, you can join down below. And I think someone already actually posted them in our Facebook group. So these are the leaks as far as I know. How do I feel about them? Honestly, I feel a little bit miffed. I was expecting where we are in the tier list, you know. I was expecting to have a little bit more points to play with, honestly. Like, I was expecting maybe even 20 to 40 points more. I was probably expecting 20, but hoping for 40. And where it's actually gone is completely the other way, where we're like, we now need to cut stuff if we want to keep the same list. You know, our Tat Bikes have gone up, our Sanguinary Priest has gone up, our Sangria Guard have gone up, our Vanguard Veterans have gone up. So yeah. But while they've gone up, I don't think it really addresses any of the main problems that we have with the 5 characters no one's running. They're still not going to be running. Our Ball Predator is still not going to be on the table. People are still going to run the Sangria Guard because they think they're good, and some people, I suppose, will still run big squads of them. And then multi-melt attack bikes. Well, if we aren't going to still see multi-melt attack bikes, we're just going to see Eradicators because, like I said, 4 Eradicators is now this cost of 3 multi-melt attack bikes. So yeah, it just feels like all these changes, we'll make them work, right? And we will absolutely try and put together a list that is going to win games going forward. And like I said, we're going to play Sisters tomorrow night. But overall, my gut feeling seeing these is like, it's not great, right? Like, I don't know what you guys want me to say, but yeah, I'm kind of, I don't want to say miffed, but yeah, disappointed is probably the best word.